Men have a habit of coming on too strong too fast. What she's looking for is chemistry. What she's looking for is the butterflies in her stomach and going home on cloud nine. You can't smother her. It's like binge watching a series on Netflix. Eventually, she just gets tired of it. Everyone has the story of when they weren't quite interested in a girl and then she started chasing you, right? You just need to be out there living your life so she doesn't assume that all of your happiness or all of your satisfaction is dependent on her. They want to enjoy the thrill of locking you down, essentially. So welcome back to another episode of 4x4 Recall, the show for entrepreneurs and business professionals where I help you create more relationships, fun, and meaning in your life. I'm your host, Chad Tabry. Let's get into it. Today we're talking about when she backs away. And this is a key topic because men assume that they can just chase harder. You assume that you did something wrong, like you didn't say the magic thing. You weren't charming enough. So you're going to try to text vomit a little bit more on the phone. You're going to try to chase her down a little bit more and say something clever and hope that it brings her back. And that's probably the biggest misconception. So we're going to go through a bunch of points here about why she's pulling away, what to do when she is pulling away, and how you can reinvigorate that mystery and bring her back chasing you, essentially. The goal that I want for all of you guys is that she's chasing you. And I've been to this before. It's fun. It takes you need to get, look, one, you're not even truly dating until you have two women in your week at a time. But what I want you to get to is 4 dates lined up per time. And when you get to these 4 dates, a lot of this makes more sense. You'll start to understand what it looks like when you just create invites and she's chasing you. It becomes so fun and predictable to some extent that it's like this little game that you've played on unlock. Like you found this way to unlock it, and now all of a sudden you're a master of the whole thing. So I remember smirking a lot. It's like I knew if I just bit my tongue or hung tight for 24 hours, she's going to come back to me with some stupid little WYD text. And inevitably, it always happened. It got so familiar for me that I could walk up to a girl. I could see like a rush in my eyes of what exactly was going to happen when I said hi to her, how I was going to ask for a number, when I was going to text her the next day, where we were going to go on the first date, when we were going to break the physical barrier. Like this is what I'm getting at for you. This is what I want you to experience. This particular mastery so that you can go out and date at will and have a lot of fun doing it. So point number 1, men have a habit of coming on too strong too fast. And most people think the opposite. I think romantic comedies have programmed you to think that women fall head over heels or women are the sappy ones. But the reality is women are the protected ones. They've had hundreds of thousands of years to realize that they are the ones being chased by the masculine, and they're the choosers in this sense. So they spend a lot of their time trying to buffer away that unwanted attention, and they spend a lot of their time detecting these men that are too needy, too thirsty, and because they perceive it as weakness or not all there, or not the best catch that they could get. Does that make sense? That's a big one. When you first start this and you're running after her head over heels, it makes her feel like you have no other options. It makes her wonder, why am I accepting him so fast if he's just like buying me nice things so quickly, talking about weddings, talking about if I want kids or not. Girls just want to have fun. Girls just want to meet up with you, hang out, have fun, and then they want you to escalate it as it's appropriate. You also destroy the whole mystery for this girl. Men think that it's funny to say, I'm going to take you XYZ, and then we're going to go here. And they think even if it's big, like then I'm going to go get a yacht in Ibiza, and then I'm going to fly us to Italy, and we're going to get all Uber Blacks. You know, it's like you're laying out the whole plan for her, and there is no mystery. So she hears this whole plan about yachts in Ibiza and Italy, and she knows she has you wrapped around her finger, and then she sees big buff Chad Tatum behind the gas station, and she's getting piped out by Chad Tatum behind the gas station because he's mysterious, because he's looking at her with indifference or disdain or disinterest. And so she wants to capture him. What is that sureness in him that she can't have right away? And that's what she's going to go chase after. And a lot of men will tell me, oh, that's not fair, or she didn't deserve me then. But that's almost not true. One, she deserves the best man she could get. And 2, you deserve the best woman that you could get. But if you want her to realize this about you, you owe it to her to create this mystery, to create this good time so that she does select you, so that you guys can have a fruitful 6 to 8 week journey of her falling in love with you, falling head over heels with you, so that you can see if there's something more to it down the line. So you owe it to her to do this right and to not send pictures of your breakfast the next day, or to not over text her and plan out all your dates 5 weeks in advance. Does that make sense? The other problem is that when you start over communicating like this, you're doing it out of your own insecurity. And I want you to hear this for a minute. One, everyone has the story of when they weren't quite interested in a girl and then she started chasing you, right? It's because you were demonstrating security. It's because you were showing her that you were confident in your position in that relationship. So she was looking up. Women want to be the adorers. Women want to be looking up to you. So she saw in that moment that she should be chasing you, and she did. But when you start doing the opposite, you're doing this because you think you have no chance with this girl otherwise. I remember I tell a story a lot about this really hot girl I was able to ask out when I was young. She was dating one of my friends in the Coast Guard. And for whatever reason, I asked out the right way, which is essentially just, hey, do you want to go out Thursday? Got her number, whatever. But I kept calling her leading up to the date. And the day of the date, I was called her like 7 times. Her mom was answering the phone, and her mom was like, oh, I'm so sorry. She's washing her hair. And I was like, heartbroken. What did I do? I was just trying to communicate. I was just trying to be a nice guy. I was just trying to make sure she was ready to go. Well, she sits there as the hot girl when chasing after other guys that aren't giving her as much attention, and she's wondering why this guy, this schlep almost, just keeps calling her phone all night. And so she ghosted me. She bounced. She ghosted me before you could even be left on red. This is back when we had telephones and landlines. So I knew that she was out of my league. I knew that she was too hot for me. And because I believed that at my core, I essentially demonstrated the behaviors that made that a reality, that made that inevitable. Does that make sense? The point is, you also have to remember too, that when a guy is hyper focused on communicating and trying to box her in, it really does feel like a trap, because it is a trap. It's like you're trying to pin her down, and it might not even be the most sincere trap. You might actually just want to sleep with her. You might be doing everything you can to just pin her down, get her into boundaries, get her in a corner so that you can have your way with her, and then she's just kind of left at the worst for it. So women are keen to this. Women understand. Women don't trust it. It's not natural for a man with resources to be chasing everything down. It's not natural for a man that has plenty of women lined up for a date that week to be going hot and heavy. That doesn't mean there's not a time and place to increase your communication a little bit, but think about it psychologically. Think about what you're communicating to her. If you're texting her, it's Saturday right now. If you're texting her Saturday at 8 p.m., hey, WYD, one, it's a lame text. It's a weak text. But two, what are you doing on a Saturday at 7? Are you out with your high-powered guy friends? Are you out with high-profile business clients? Are you out with another attractive woman? No, none of those things. You are at home on your phone chasing this woman down, and she feels that she knows it, and she knows then that she can do better than you. Does that make sense? She can put you into orbit, in a sense, and wait for some other guy that she gets to chase so she feels the fun of pinning him down. Think about that for a minute. Just understand that everything you chase will run away, essentially. That's the bottom line in that one. So, point number 2, because women understand this, first they will challenge this some. They will pull back. If they feel even a hint of creepiness, coming on too strong, any amount of aggression, any amount of weirdness, they'll just pull back. They'll selectively ignore text. They'll wait half a day to message you back or to call you back. And now in the age of social media, they'll do funny things on social media to see what your response is to it. You have to understand that they know what they're doing there, and you have to play the game correctly or you'll blow your load. So when you notice these pullbacks, you have to recognize it and dial yourself way back. You have to find ways to put this in perspective for yourself. You have to let your own excitement subdue. The funny thing about that is when you make decisions from an uncentered core, when you're frustrated or yearning, you make really bad decisions. That's the law of attraction in essence of it. If you're angry and you make a rash decision, you tend to get some aggressive or angry result back. Or if you're sad, you make a mopey decision, you get some mopey result back. So when she's pulled back, you need to distract yourself with other things. Go out there and keep yourself occupied, but let that excitement subdue a little bit. Text her when you're ready. Text her when it fits naturally in your calendar. That's the big point of this. Your job as the man in this dating process is to create the space where you guys can meet up, have fun, and escalate. So, at its core, you're creating a lighthearted, fun environment where you guys can have fun. And if you are constantly clinging or being too needy on this, you're going to push her away. So, you're just inviting her out to dates. That's the key thing here. It's a once a week cadence at the beginning until she starts to feel that anxiety of wondering what you're up to, until she starts to reach out to you. She'll start, and really, this is like a 6 to 8 week predictable process. Around week 3 to 4, she's texting you, "What are you doing? How was your morning?" etc. And at that point, you can assume that she's craving your masculine presence, and you can invite her out to the next date. But the key in all of this is you have to give her space. You can't smother her. You can't say, "Oh, this was such a wonderful time. Let's get out again." When you're free the next morning. You can't, if you try to do that 4 days in a row, it's like binge watching a series on Netflix. Eventually, she just gets tired of it. So you do have to invite, you do have to polarize, invite her on the dates, but you need to give her space to let everything subside again so she can collect her thoughts and say, "Man, I had a really good time. I hope he calls me back." And again, the best way to do this is by doing prospecting motions elsewhere. You have to have other dates throughout the weeks. At a minimum, you have to have other fun things that you're doing with your friends. Disc golf, cigar clubs, running clubs, going to the gym. You just need to be out there living your life so she doesn't assume that all of your happiness or all of your satisfaction is dependent on her. Does that make sense? If you, the thing on this too in these very early stages is if you detect her pulling back some or saying things like, "I need some space," or "I'm just not so sure," you have to find a way to give her a canyon of space. I remember telling girls that would kind of bring this up, "I think I need a little bit of space." And I would always tell them, "That's cool with me, man. I can give space. I know how to give space." That's essentially that constant willingness to walk away because you've got 6 other numbers in your phone, because you got 4 other dates that week, because you have options in your life. So you know that you don't have to coerce. You know that you don't have to twist her arm to have fun with you. You know that all of these are invites to her to have a good time. And by understanding that she needs space for the mystery to grow, you create an even more fun time. Does that make sense? I'm telling you, this sounds weird when you're first starting out, but I remember with my wife now, man, it was like 6 weeks into it. I remember she sent me this weird text like, "Hey, can I see you? I just want to talk about something." And we get to the restaurant, she's acting all fidgety. And I'm like, dang, this girl is already like in the "where's this going" phase. There's another girl I dated in Colorado. By the 3rd week, we were tubing down one of the rivers. She was having like the exclusivity talk. So I promise you, if you present yourself as a man with options, if you just cool your jets for a minute, if you just simmer down and allow that space to ask her out once a week and then let her fall in love on her own, she's going to bring these conversations up to you. It's not something that you have to chase aggressively. All right, point number 4. There's a balance to all of this. And I want you to hear this. Sometimes people learn this and they go right into like this smug jerk mode. And it kind of works, unfortunately. Like there's a lot of girls will throw themselves at you if you're a complete tool bag. But if you want long, meaningful, fun relationships, it's not a sustainable tactic. So you have to be able to read the room. If you're too cold, eventually the woman will just get bitter. And in this day of options, when everyone's chased her down, she'll go select another guy. What she's looking for is chemistry. What she's looking for is the butterflies in her stomach and going home on cloud nine and wondering when you're going to call her again. But eventually, if you never call her again or think that you could just go 2 or 3 weeks without calling her, you're putting her into like this booty call bucket. And that doesn't fly for most girls. That's not going to work. So as a 4x4 man, you have to be socially aware. I talk about reading the room here. You'll be able to tell if you start measuring your messages and you're sending messages. "Oh man, I shot 3. She hasn't responded back." And I'm not saying it's as like superficially tactical as that. You just have to know if she took 12 hours to reply to you and then you're banging out 3 messages right in a row, like you're not matching her energy. Does that make sense? You have to find her energy and then just back it down just a little bit so that the dance works correctly. So be socially aware and know if it's been too long, everybody wants to feel recognized, loved, and respected. So at a minimum, you can say things like a positive acknowledgement to whatever her last text message was, or "Hey, I'm really looking forward to our date on Thursday," etc. So it's not about being totally stiff or bored. And it's not about being like Dan Bilzerian has this story about how he hooked up with a girl and he didn't say a single word. It was like in his bucket list. It's a silly story. He didn't really mean it, but it's not about that life. It's not about going to a club and be able to just look at a girl and then grab her arm and walk out and never say anything. Like it'll work a couple times, but again, like dating itself gets boring, that gets even more boring even faster. And if you got to try it, go try it. Don't take my word for it. Try all of this stuff. But I'm telling you guys, you can't go to one extreme or the other. Like real life is somewhere down the middle. Real life is understanding how to build this skill set and then expertly navigate it. So, what's it all mean? What this means is you're inviting her once a week, but you want her to chase you. You are the leader, as in you're creating the environment where you guys can meet up, have fun, and escalate. But the goal is to give her enough space to start chasing you. Stick to once a week invites for official dates. If you're on week 2 or 3 and she's reaching back out to you, assume that she wants you to ask her out again, and then just ask her out. Guys ask me all the time about like, is this a sign or whatever? You never really know until you actually ask her out on that date. So when men come to me and say, does this a sign or whatever sign, if she reached out to you, just say, listen, let's get out this weekend. When are you free? And then if she's interested in you, she'll give you the calendar. So assume that when she's reaching out to you, she does want to meet up again, but you don't know until you ask. So again, your job is to just follow up on the meetups and then to treat yourself like you're a guy that has plenty of options. Women do, this is another misconception. Women do want to be the ones chasing. Women want to be the adorer. You are the adored. And I know that, again, it sounds counterintuitive, but it's hard to be the one that's adored. It's hard to be the one that's doted on. It's easier to be the one that can just have the lovey-dovey eyes and like surrender into the love right there. And that's where most of the women fit in and want to be in your life. So they want you setting dates so that they can chase you. They want to enjoy the thrill of locking you down, essentially. And remember, in all of this, set definite dates, definite times and places. When she reaches out, say, hey, meet me Thursday at bar XYZ at 7 p.m. And if you want to go a little further, tell her exactly what to wear. Wear something cute and casual. We're going to do a little bit of walking. Or wear something classy and sexy. We're going somewhere nice, but it's a surprise. I can't tell you what. And why are you surprising? Because you own the mystery. Don't forget that. Point 6. This process works. And I know it's communication patterns have changed with social media. I give that. That's granted. But the mystery has not. There are 8 billion people in the world, and I think some 4 million of those women went out and bought 50 Shades of Grey because women want the novel. Women want the mystery. They want the story. They want to be included into some adventure. So you can't let modern technology escalate you down this path and rush you through what psychologically has been working for hundreds or thousands or hundreds of thousands of years. You have to let this take its time. And when you start playing into it, you're going to see it work like clockwork. And I'm telling you guys, just try this. Just go out and get the numbers. Step number 1, find a way to polarize women, ask for numbers. Step number 2, start asking them out on dates. And then keep doing that until you filled your calendar with 4 dates per week. And if you do this for just 30 days, these 4 dates per week, 1, it's going to get tiring. 2, it's going to get predictable. 3, you're going to back down some. But 4, you're going to see that you can spin this wheel up at any time, that you own, that you have the mastery of this process, and you're going to have a lot of fun dating these women. And when you're having fun, this is the big point. When you're having fun, they start having fun. They get swept up into it. They want to be with you more because it's an infectious energy. So don't assume that because some girl is all over stories on social media or you're seeing in movies that you're supposed to chase women really hard, don't assume that that's the way to go. I promise you that the rom-coms are teaching you wrong. You've got to lean into being the leader. You've got to lean into creating the mystery because you owe it to the girl of your dreams to create this amazing time. You want her telling her family one Christmas about this down the road. Oh, he showed up in his white truck, his white shirt. He picked me up. He took me out. He had this wonderful time. It was so amazing. We were out till 2 a.m. And at the end of the day, he just left and said, I had fun. I didn't even know what to do. I was so nervous. Would he call me back? Would I get the next date? That sort of mystery burns into her head. That's what she wants to remember for the rest of her life. That's the Prince Charming that she's trying to pin down. And if you give her the space to feel that, She will be your princess telling these stories about you. Does that make sense? If you like this episode, I want you to like and subscribe. Find me on whatever platform you're watching on. Shoot me a message. I'd love to hear from you. I'll see you in the next one.